Hello, everyone. Steve Westman, Audiophile Roundtable, a special edition, an unboxing and review of the next two Rhino Hi-Fi rock albums. Let me get my special guest, Patrick Milligan, Rhino Hi-Fi. What's this, Patrick?
Very exciting, right?
Can
Who
we do
thought
that?
we could ever pull that off?
But it's not the one we're doing, right?
Unfortunately, no.
That's the one I'm telling you right now. You're in charge of this stuff. All my viewers want to see some Led Zeppelin. Wouldn't this look nice? This would look
It
beautiful.
certainly looks nice.
Okay.
I love it. Well, as you and I have discussed, and we're just discussing a little bit before this, we have a list of things that are our top, wish list, and Led Zeppelin obviously
Yeah.
is high atop that. And when I'm asked what can we do with Led Zeppelin, because our hands are pretty tied on that, but we're always trying to think of stuff. I was like, hi-fi, and
Yeah.
everybody agrees. But it's ultimately those things are up to Jimmy Page. There's a lot of logistics with that, but our dream is to do that. Our
Well,
dreams come true. Our dream was to do the Black Sabbath
Black Sabbath,
debut,
we got
and
that.
we finally got that lined up, and we were able to do that, and the band agreed, and everybody involved, and turned out great. Sold really well, and hopefully there's more Black Sabbath too. Those are also
Crossing my fingers.
the rest of the high part of our list of wish lists. And I can also tell you, because this has come up a lot,
Okay.
just so you know, and we've maybe talked about this, we are really chomping at the bit to do some UK repertoire. So as soon as we're able to do anything with Joy Division and New Order and
The Smiths?
and Smiths is particularly hard
You
because
must have gotten my list. I sent you that list.
in addition to just dealing with UK rep and logistics of tapes and things like that, the Smiths are pretty hands-on on any project. So that's another.
I will tell you, from a lot of my viewers, everyone's like, Steve, tell Patrick, get the Smiths, get the Smiths. I think that would be a big seller. I really do.
Believe me, it's high atop our list, and if we ever get a chance, we will jump on it for sure.
Would you have to deal directly with Morrissey then?
Well, Morrissey definitely has sign off and has a say. Johnny Marr does too. I mean,
Well, they don't talk to each other any longer, right?
no, and I don't talk to them either. I mean, it's through
Yeah.
several people, but yeah, it's timing with that too. I mean, I can tell you we're always trying to do Smith stuff in every sort of lane that we have. It's just when the opportunity allows.
Well, that's good to know. I'm glad the viewers know that you guys are listening to what we want. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Should we get to the first of the two? Should we get to the first of the two rock albums right now?
Yes, let's do.
Do you have yours, or do you want me to bring mine? Show mine. Okay. So on the count of three, 1, 2, 3. Well, there it is. Bad Company. This is a 33 RPM. I know there's a 45 out there. This is the Rhino Hi-Fi 33 RPM. I had a chance to listen to this one. I mean, I will tell you, first of all, I mean, the track listing, I mean, everyone knows Bad Company self-titled, 1974. It was actually recorded at Headley Grange, where Led Zeppelin recorded, I guess it was Houses of the Holy and Physical Graffiti around that time as well. So Bad Company was the first studio album through the Swan Song label, which Led Zeppelin owned back in 1974.
You know that Genesis actually did some demos there too. They were writing Lamb Lies Down on Broadway at Headley Grange.
Again, I mean, what can you say about the album jacket? I mean, nice thick cardboard, incredible. Oh, hang on, we're gonna put that full screen for all of our tape box guys. Hold on a second.
We refer to it tape porn.
I was tape porn. And so that's side 1, I think. Side 2, Bad Company, self-titled. And then if you open it up there, the liner notes. Who do you have in the liner notes?
Brand new liner notes.
Nice.
Here, trying to get it on the screen here so you can see. Nice photo of the band. Early photo. Both labels, British and U.S. So Hugh Gilmore, who does a lot of our A&R in the UK and design as well, very talented guy. He interviewed Ron Nevison, who was the original engineer for the record. So, as we always like in the hi-fi titles, to get some details on how the record was made and getting into the geeky kinds of.
I'll get into that in a second. And I also wanted to show the folks this, Patrick. You guys changed it up a little bit.
We're into what we do, and we could make these even cooler if we. So yeah, and I can tell you, just to sort of address the elephant in the room.
Okay, what's that elephant again?
That is the shipping.
Yeah.
I have to say, first of all, I'm just completely blown away that there is actually a Rhino High Fidelity Facebook group. I love that there's. When I first heard about that, I was like, "Are you kidding me? That's so cool." And I do monitor it and pay attention to it, and I do see that a good amount of the comments are people still dealing with frustrations with how things are shipped. And I'm a broken record to say that I'm frustrated too, but I can tell you that we definitely are. We've tried to come up with solutions. We deal with the people who basically distribute and ship this stuff, which is sort of an outside company, and we think we have things dealt with. And then I hear a lot of people are getting things that are coming in good and they're shipped right and everything, and then all of a sudden I'll see somebody that gets something that's in some random packaging, and it's a head scratcher. But we're trying to deal with it, and we've actually created some prototypes, and we'll see if we can get this through, because it would be basically us doing is creating some new high-end mailers that would have a Rhino High Fidelity logo on them. But so we are paying attention. We're aware of it. We're frustrated too. It just, every time I see that, it kind of just deflates me a little bit, because I'm like, oh man, we put so much work to make these so nice, and people seem to be really responding to them well and enjoying them for what they are. But it's just, I get that it's like, if you can't get them reliably, I know it's just not the damage in some cases, but it's the just delays in getting them or hearing about them and stuff like that. So I appreciate that frustration, and just, again, the fact that there's a page, I love it, but we do pay attention to it. So we're trying to make it right for people, and I do apologize. So I didn't mean to go off on that tangent.
No, it's fine. I
But
appreciate
I
that,
just wanted
though.
to get to that at some point, because
Well, I know that's, obviously you're right, the big elephant in the room, and I know from talking to you and all of your colleagues at Rhino, they're working on it. I know everyone there is frustrated. I probably, in some of those meetings, that's probably the big meeting, big talking point you guys have at these
right,
meetings.
right.
So I get it as
Well,
well.
I don't want people to look at a new fancy in their sleeve and go, oh, they put work into that, but they can't get the shipping down.
Oh,
So
fair enough. So I was gonna just with going back to Hugh Gilmore and Ron Nevison here did this interview on Bad Company. Now the Bad Company album itself, I mean, I always, even going back to it, the drumming was always something that really caught my ear. Now, in reading it and how they recorded it, I was very fascinated here, because Hugh asked Ron about the microphones being used, and he goes, "Here, I can tell you what microphones are used. One of the reasons that it sounds so live is because on the drums, and this is the thing, I always listen. The drums really were like, wow, really sounded incredible. He used a Neumann U87 on the snare and on the tom toms and on the overheads. That's a condenser mic. Most conventional miking techniques for drums are usually Shure 57s, dynamic mics, and are on the overheads. They'll use condenser mics. I use 87s for everything on that recording. One of the reasons was I had a bunch of them and they sounded so good. I used condenser mics, U87s, which was a new thing in those days, and they had just come out a year or two before that. So again, some valuable information in these liner notes, and
yeah,
that's one of the reasons. Like Bad Company, the whole album, I mean, especially the first 5 tracks, so the first 4 inside one, and then of course Bad Company inside 2, are FM staple songs that
yeah,
you've
and
heard
I
throughout
think
your life.
they are, and I think it sort of tends to make people maybe take this record for granted a little bit, and listening again and hearing it sort of in this presentation makes me realize again too. It's like, wow, this is such a great record. It's and it really is about. It's very organic. There's not like a lot of heavy production. I mean, it's tasteful, but very organic, and like you're saying, well recorded, very just great songs, and it just really
Mm.
highlights the songs and the kind of performances in a very organic ways. I yeah, and the thing about having U87s on all the drums is just
Mhm.
there aren't a lot of people that would have the luxury of having enough U-87s to
And that's the thing too. And I mean,
thousands of dollars each. I mean, it's yeah, and it is an unusual approach because yeah, you would typically because of the the SPL coming off of the drums, you'd be concerned about overdriving a condenser like that. But they do sound amazing. I mean,
and I always felt that, and all the other cuts I've listened to, I'm like, wow, this drumming, what's going on with the drum? And I had no idea that's what he was using at the time. So I mean, that was
yeah,
pretty cool.
such great drumming though. I mean, it's like he's just so got such a laconic kind of just a
Right.
little bit behind. It's such a cool feel. The band just is like, and they're brand new. I mean, they're basically kind of inventing themselves in the studio on this first record. So
I mean, what a record to come out with. I mean, just like I said, like five songs in a row. I mean, just FM radio staples, and
yeah,
even this, even
it's
the song "Don't Let Me Down." I mean,
yeah.
I just love that
Well,
one.
it's one of those records that's a debut that's almost like a greatest hits. There's a lot of those like you know the Pretenders' first record, the Spinners' first album, the Stylistics' first album. I mean, there's just there's a pretty good list of those. That's the Cars' first album.
Well, we know about that one. So no, on the drums, it was with Simon Kirke, right, as the drummer for Bad Company. I mean, I think not to say he's an underrated drummer, but on this album, I guess if folks don't know much about Bad Company, this is obviously a great start, being their self-titled. You're probably gonna drop the needle on this. Go, oh my god, yeah, I know these songs, because it's one of those things. If you listen to the radio for the last 50 years, Bad Company, a lot of the songs are played in the classic rock station. So you're going to
Oh yeah,
recognize these songs if you're not that familiar with the band. I mean, most people watching this probably are, but yeah, I think you know what I mean.
yeah, they hold up. I mean, you know they're pretty timeless. Again, just because they're just sort of simply produced, so there's not really a lot of artifacts of the time that you might have on some other things that are kind of more fad driven and
Yeah.
identifiable to their era. So
Well, I also found it really cool that they used a mobile sound recording lab. It was an old Airstream recreational vehicle that they gutted out, and they put all the machinery and consoles in there at the time. So that's pretty cool. What was it called? The MLS, I guess it was the acronym. What was it? I think it was Lane's Mobile
yeah,
Sound
yeah, it was
Studio. Or
Ronnie
something.
Lane's.
Yeah,
Ronnie Lane's. Yeah,
really, really cool. So I
yeah, that
mean,
was used for a bunch of different things. I mean, yeah, that's. I'd have to look at a list, but I know you are. I was reading about records that were used with that mobile studio. But this is something that actually Bad Company management came to us and said, hey, we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the first album, and it seems worth celebrating. And we thought it does seem worth celebrating. And we thought about what to do. There had been a few years back, I don't know, 10 years or so, maybe. There were some reissues of several Bad Company albums, including the first album with a lot of bonus material expanded. And so we didn't really want to go down that road again. And we all kind of just in a moment went, how about a hi-fi?
yeah.
And it is a really great sounding record. If you don't know it, or if you haven't heard it for a while, or even if you know it really well, I think Steve can attest to this particular presentation is really pretty spectacular. So worth
It's
checking out.
well, I mean, it pretty much was a live recording, right? I mean, the guys rehearsed, before they cut this album. It didn't take them long. I think it was like recorded and mixed in 10 days, if I'm not mistaken. It was
Yeah,
very
and you
very
can
quick.
hear that it's not, again, like I say, it's not overbaked, it's not tedious. There are, overdubs here and there, guitar things and stuff, but very tasteful. It never gets like dense and muddy and in your face. It is as such it's pretty open.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
that's
space and
right.
a lot of room for things and a lot of
Yeah.
room for clarity on things. So I again just from a
You're
high
right.
quality audiophile standpoint, a really great sounding record.
And then "Don't Let Me Down." I know I focus on that one. I do like that song. I think there was even a few overdubs of the vocals, of the women's vocals on that, but I mean, very much just a live recording. Maybe some guitars here or there, but like in most records. But yeah, this is, I wouldn't say raw, but I think, for their first debut album, wow. I mean, at the time, I mean, what was I, 1 years old when this came out, so I have no idea how well it was celebrated back in 1974, but clearly it did really well.
Well, I was 14 when it came out, and I do remember it quite well, having been a Mott the Hoople fan, and
Right.
that kind of led into this, and so yeah, I definitely was paying attention.
Did you buy it at the time?
Well, as we were discussing before, when we were younger and had limited funds,
Yeah.
I did not buy it, but a friend of mine that I was in a band with at the time did. He actually went to see them in concert, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to think of it. It was like, I might be mixing it up. I won't say it wrong. But yeah, he went and saw them in concert. But he had the album, and I borrowed it and put it on cassette, as one did in the day, or reel to reel. My dad's a reel to reel.
So these will be out July the 12th, Friday morning. I think around, we always think July 12th, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or in or around there, or just before that normally. So there you go. Should we go? Should we go to the next one now? You ready for
Yeah,
this?
let's start off by saying, because we were looking at celebrating the 50th of Bad Company, we thought, well, let's tie it with another 50th anniversary. This is really truly one of my favorite records.
Yes, Relayer,
Relayer.
1974. And this is right after, this is when I want to say, let me just, I can't remember here. Rick Wakeman left the band right around
Rick Wakeman left
74.
the band after
Yeah,
Tales from Topographic Oceans, because I think he was just kind of frustrated with how the writing was going and maybe getting too dense. And if you know the history of the band, they kind of come and go. There's a great documentary on them that was, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago or something, that uh, just traces the history from the beginning all the way through, and it just almost becomes like Spinal Tap, the way they cross in and out. But this is basically the classic Yes, with the trading of Patrick Moraz for Rick Wakeman, and I would say that even in the day, this struck me with this record, that it felt like something different, because the Patrick Moraz part of it, I think he adds a little bit more of a jazz fusion element to it than there
definitely does.
any previous Yes stuff. And it's, to me, there's a group of classic Yes albums, from the Yes album through Relayer, that to me are just unfailing in my mind. I love these records so much, and after that, it's kind of hit and miss for me. But this is, to me, the last of the truly classic Yes albums.
I
And
mean, and if you are a huge Yes fan, I mean, having this in Hi-Fi now, I mean, what a treat, right? I mean, this is again incredible as we get to, as we expect it now, Patrick, from Rhino Hi-Fi with the jackets all in glossy. And this is one I'm not, again, I will personally tell you, I'm not, the biggest Yes fan. It's not something that was really I listened to a lot growing up, but I mean, you get to appreciate it now that you get all these reissues and try to get more eclectic in your taste and whatnot. And I felt, I mean, Gates of the Delirium, and I want to go to the box here, the tape box, and I know a lot of folks, and we know this, audiophiles, they're going to see this. It says copy here, not master. So can we address that?
well, we basically, obviously, when records were made, depending on where they were made, then the tapes that went to other countries to produce the records came off of that tape. So this tape is basically the US tape that has been used to cut every version of the record that's ever come out in the US. Well, unless they were done digitally, which there may have been some of those in the past. I'm not really sure, but no, this is the US tape, and it's, if you bought a copy when it came out and you have an original copy, it would be from this very same tape.
So side one has the Gates of the Delirium. It's a 21-minute track. Pretty much, it was described by Anderson at the time as being a war song, a battle scene, that type of thing. Can you get into that a little bit more with us?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just, there's a lot going on in this that has a different energy than kind of previous Yes stuff. And even just that description of it. I mean, it's hard to really say where the sort of vision of Yes comes from, but there's a fair amount of it that's a little, I don't know, cosmic, sort of being in touch with, I don't know, I'm not saying it well, but so to have something like this for Yes is kind of a different way to sort of look at something, and you can hear it, and the energy in it, and just you know, like I'm saying, that the frantic electric piano, which is something that's kind of a new element to Yes, and has a bit of a jazz fusion thing, and just I think Steve Howe's guitar playing is like a lot more aggressive and just edgy. And if you see photos from the sessions, something that's kind of unique, you always see Steve with his Gibson hollow body, and he's using a Telecaster on this, and clearly that's a very different sound. So yeah, it's a step in a different direction for them, I think, for sure. And I think I remember, because I was a big Yes fan from, you know, the first Yes album I ever heard was Close to the Edge, and I was hooked. But I bought the single of Roundabout when it came out, so I was aware of them before that. But um, I loved Tales from Topographic Oceans, but I remember at the time it was not that well received by a lot of people who thought it was kind of bloated. And I find a lot to really enjoy there and always have. So I don't really feel that way, but I kind of get what people are saying. And I kind of think that's what, again, Rick Wakeman was sort of turning away from, because, you know, Rick, after Yes made Relayer, they all went off and made solo albums. But up to that point, Rick Wakeman was the only one that really had a career outside of Yes. So
And Relayer went on. I think they sold about 500,000 records as a gold album. So I mean, it did quite well commercially too. I mean, really, and it's different. I mean, you know, the first song is one song on side one. We mentioned Gates of Delirium, a 21-minute song, and then on side two, we should talk about that. You know, you've got two songs. You got Soundcat, you got Sound Chaser, and To Be Over. And now in Sound Chaser, you were mentioning sort of the fusion jazz sort of funk arrangement, and Sound Chaser with Mraz. That's exactly what he did, right? Sort of that intro to that song is really, I think he did it in one take or what, two takes or something like that. So I mean, it really has that sound that you're mentioning in that track.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can hear the his contribution to that really comes through, I think, there. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's a unique record. I mean, to the extent that if you look at the format of it, one long song on side one and two on side two, it's exactly like Close to the Edge. But
It can never be a 45 RPM, so you know it can only be a 33 RPM, right?
yeah, you know, I'm
Well,
trying
I mean,
to think of. Seems like there was something that
was
was done
there?
a while back where they were doing something where it had to be faded in the middle
Okay.
of the song. And I remember I never, growing up, I never had an 8-track player, but I knew friends that did, and especially, you know, when we started driving, that people that had 8 tracks in their car, and you get to the middle of a song and it would fade, and then it would switch tracks and then fade up again. I'm like, how could they possibly do that?
I know. I mean, in some records, I just like the 33 RPM version, just because that's you sort of remember the track listing that way. I know we always talk about you could never do Abbey Road on a 45 RPM cut. The album, I mean, in two records,
It
that
would
would just
it
wreck the
would
whole
ruin it.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few of the 45 RPM things, and there's, man, some of them sound fantastic. So it's, but I'm like you. It's like, well, I sort of like the way the record was made, especially that something like this that's very about the sequencing and how it's presented. So and you know,
So we did.
getting
We did.
getting up more times to change the side, you know.
That's good exercise.
There you go.
So we didn't get into this. So the liner notes here by both of our good friend, it's our good friend Sid Schwartz that actually wrote the liner notes. Who's a huge Yes fan and obviously knows a lot about Yes. And I just want to read what Sid says here. So if you folks aren't that familiar with the Relayer album and you're going to buy it, Sid says this: if you don't know it or have never heard it, just open your mind and your ears, close your eyes, even and listen. He says, and listen in the very possible way either with the highest quality headphones or with a good stereo system and as loud as you can absorb. Sid Schwartz, who wrote the liner notes, that's what he said at the end of this. I think that's just fantastic, and he knows a lot about this band. I mean, I actually, when I read these liner notes, I had to text him right away. I'm like, Sid, wow, this really opens it up for someone that doesn't know much about this album, and he really went into detail about it, and I just thought it was just a wonderful read,
Well,
and I'm
he's,
really happy that you brought him in for this,
oh
Patrick.
yeah, yeah. Well, he's a great writer, and he really gets Yes. I mean, he's done some other Yes things for us too, and he's, so sort of his understanding and his ability to communicate it is really, yeah, it puts it in a great context. So
Well,
turned out great. I'm
he
glad
says this too. Building on 2 years of live in the studio experience, Chris Squire and Ellen White wrote an entirely new playbook for Relayer, a masterclass in power and precision that balances the nuances of the top kit and propulsion of the kick drum. Just
Yeah, again, it's just a more
such detail.
energetic, more powerful in your face record. And worth noting too, if people don't know this, I mean, I think this is something I knew at the time, in fact, but the record was recorded in Chris Squire's basement. They set up a studio there and recorded it in his house. So, and just saying that, I remember an ad that came out at the time that was a picture, basically like the format of a magazine full page with the cover in the background and an inset picture of Chris Squire, and it said something to the effect of "Thank you, Chris," something basically acknowledging the use of his house for the record. So, and we had my band at the time I was in. We had that ad up taped to the wall of our
That's funny.
rehearsal space. So that's kind of why I remember it.
And then you also included the original, I guess, lyrics from the album as well, so I can put those up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which is nice.
As they were on the record. Yep.
So, July the 12th, Friday. These are limited to 5,000 numbered copies?
They are indeed.
Okay. And I appreciate you bringing the elephant into the room here and talking and discussing the shipping. And I know you guys are working on it. I know you and I have talked back and forth, obviously, for the last month or two after the Sabbath album release. And I can tell everyone, guys, there's no one that's more frustrated than Patrick Milligan.
Yeah, the whole team.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. But I don't mean to be like, oh, woe us. It's like, no, I feel really bad for the customers because this is.
And that's what I think is really cool, because
we want people to have for sure. So
because you're a fan just like us, and I appreciate that you appreciate that how everyone's taking it, and I'm glad that you guys are working on a solution. That's awesome.
we want you to get your stuff the way that we look.
So is there any more Easter eggs you can tell us going forward? I mean, when the next releases are, if they're hot, if they're jazz, if they're rock.
Well, they will be in September. They will be.
Hang on. There's something in September.
Yep.
Ooh, that's the next release for Rhino Hi-Fi.
Correct.
September. Do you have the date off yet? Just
for some reason in my head, I think it's the 19th, but it's somewhere around that. It would be a Friday.
So a mid September release.
Yeah.
So after the long weekend. Okay. And that's going to be another rock title or two jazz titles, one rock, one jazz.
They're not jazz. Okay. They are, I'll just put it this way, they are rock adjacent.
Rock adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
That's your Easter egg you're going to leave with us today? Yeah.
It's September.
It's not it, but it's not this though.
It is not that.
Damn.
It's September is a month that celebrates a particular kind of music. I'll just leave it at that.
Ooh, that's an Easter egg. September celebrates a particular type of month. Okay. Guys, get on the internet and Google it. So here we go. July 12th. Yes, Relayer. Hang on. Yes, Relayer. There it is.
Upside down.
Bad Company. Am I upside down? Yeah,
well, your yes is.
There it is.
You're not being a yes man.
Just so
it's falling all over the place over here.
Patrick just broke his record there. There you go. Yep. There it is.
These are very rare copies. They don't get numbered lower than this.
No, I got the same as you.
Yeah. Zero.
Where's the zero? I can see the zero somewhere. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Well, thank you, Patrick, for this.
Thank you, Steve. Always fun.
Always fun. I'm excited about this one, of course, and good luck with the ones in September. And then, of course, I'm assuming you're doing every month after that, or are you going to wait from September?
They're pretty much every other month. We do have. Oh, wait a minute.
What?
We have something coming before September. I forgot.
Oh, okay. So is that jazz?
There is something in August.
Ooh.
And I'll give you an Easter egg for that.
Good.
This is going to be a hi-fi like no hi-fi we've ever done before.
I don't know what does that mean?
We're trying something new with this one.
It's not 45 RPM though.
It is not.
Okay. That's a cool Easter egg. Okay. Excellent. Well, Patrick, thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve. Always a pleasure.
Talk again
I
soon.
guess we'll be talking again probably in August.
I look forward to that one. We'll see
All
you
right.
later. Bye bye.
Okay. Take care. Bye, everybody.